Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time it is, wherever you are. This is Mr. Mitchell bringing you the lesson for Tuesday, November 17th, 2020. All right, let's jump right into our Tuesday module. You'll see 11, 17, 20. We're going to click on Engage, putting together an outfit. That's where we will start. All right, take a look at these three images that are appearing on my screen and will appear on your screen once you've clicked into the module. We're going to talk about how you assemble an outfit. Think about the things that go into an outfit. These folks have on, of course, pants and a shirt. Some of them, actually, I think all of them have jackets. Almost all of them have jackets. They have shoes, they have accessories. Think about your style. What style of outfit appeals to you? All right, scroll down, and here's what you're going to do. Last week, we were talking about how poets and authors have their own style, and um, when they write their poetry, when they write their texts, their articles, their fiction, when they write their music, and like we said, poets have their own style, and that's what we're going to kind of focus in on today when we look at an author's style. But for you, you have your own unique style, and we want to develop that as you learn to write. So you're going to make an outfit, a quote unquote, if you see me, air quotes, an outfit using your own writing style. And we're going to help you direct you with this analogy. You need to assemble a shirt, pants, and shoes. Okay. First, you need to determine if you're going to be formal or informal in your word choice. Are you going to use slang? Are you going to avoid slang? You need to include pants. Are you going to use a simile or hyperbole? Remember, simile is a comparison using like or as, and hyperbole is an exaggeration. What point of view are you going to use? Those will be your shoes. Is it going to be first or second or third person? Are you going to use I or we, you or yours? Are you going to be an all knowing narrator? Here's what you're going to write about: a very short paragraph, just a couple of sentences, about a time when you had to be determined, you had to keep pushing through. In your style that draws from each of these three categories, you're going to tell your reader about a time that you had to be determined. Right? A quick suggestion: when you pick your shoes, if it's a personal narrative, it should be in the first person. Here's an example. And let's look at the bottom here. We'll see that the shirt in red, the author has used slang. The pants, they've used a hyperbolic statement. They used hyperbole, an exaggeration. And of course, it is written in first person using I and me. Here's the example. It was really hard for me to talk in my public speaking class, like crazy difficult. See that informal language? I thought I would die, hyperbole, the second I started talking. I eventually learned that I should, first person, keep trying. Once I kept trying, I got better. Now I can give speeches like nobody's business. Pause this recording, and clicking in the top, you'll see the blue button up here at the top for you. It'll pop the text box at the bottom, and that's where you're going to write your short paragraph. Come back to the video once you've submitted. All right, welcome back. Once you've submitted, go to the bottom and click Next. All right, today we're going to be reading a poem by Maya Angelou as we introduce her as an author of a much larger story, one that we're going to start on Friday. Maya Angelou was an influential poet with an incredible life and a very unique outlook. She is probably one of the most influential people um, when it comes to civil rights and just the power of speaking and getting out the message. She wasn't afraid to speak up or to speak out. Today, we're just going to kind of go through some of her life so that you can get some background. And then when we get in on Friday, you'll be able to read about her as a young girl. Maya Angelou was born in the 1920s, and you can remember that that was the lead up to the Great Depression. She grew up in a pretty poor area, and her family that she lived with owned a store that she worked in. Maya Angelou did die in 2014, and I remember when she passed away. That was very significant. A lot of people felt that. Her grandmother had raised her and always felt like she had special talents. Her brother would call her Maya, and that's how she became Maya Angelou. She had once spent a few years in her teenage life with other homeless children in a place, basically a junkyard where they kept old cars. Angelou, her life has been told in 7 different autobiographies. The first one, and remember, autobiographies are a biography written by the person who it's about. The first one is called I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings. Her last autobiography was Mom and Me and Mom, and it was published when she was 85. So she not only spoke up and wrote, she wrote about her life, and she's a very, very inspirational person, and has a lot of advice to give. She did all kinds of work. She was a cook, she was a dancer, she was a journalist in Egypt. She was a professor. She worked at Wake Forest University. She wrote poems that reflected uh, the struggles that many Americans faced during civil rights. She fought for the rights of African Americans with Martin Luther King Jr. She spent time in Ghana as a writer and an editor. She also wrote the first Swedish film that was by an American writer. All right, she believed in living her life gracefully, and I say that because she was always calm yet impassioned. When you hear her speak, you can tell that each word that she says, she has chosen carefully. She selected it and made sure and been intentional about what she wanted to say. She won the Presidential Medal of Freedom, and she was nominated for a Pulitzer Prize. And she won the National Medal of Arts and owns owns or won 3 Grammy Awards. So if you think about her life, and you can go back through this graphic and kind of see some of the other things that I didn't address, um, she lived a full and rich and inspiring life, accomplished much, and she came from a place where it wasn't necessarily um, the best conditions, the best situations. All right. Let's take a look at the SALT poem. Remember that our SALT poem analysis is how we dig into a poem um, to see if there's any questions that we have or anything that we don't understand, and really help us investigate it before going in and doing it a second read. All right, today we're going to look at the poem Still I Rise, and it is by Maya Angelou. Listen to Maya Angelou speak, and you'll kind of get a sense of what I was talking about a minute ago with the power and passion with which she delivers her message.
Everyone in the world has gone to bed one night or another with fear or pain or loss or disappointment. And yet each of us has awakened, arisen, somehow made our ablution, seen other human beings, and said, "Morning, how are you? Fine, thanks, and you?" It's amazing. Wherever that abides in the human being, there is the nobleness of the human spirit, despite it all, black and white, Asian, Spanish, Native American, pretty, plain, thin, fat, vowed or celibate, we rise. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom just 'cause I walk as if I have oil wells pumping in my living room? Just like suns and like moons, with the certainty of tides, just like hope springing high, still I rise. Did you want to see me broken? Bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries. Does my sassiness upset you? Don't take it so hard just 'cause I laugh. As if I have gold mines digging in my own backyard. You can shoot me with your words. You can cut me with your lies. You can kill me with your hatefulness. But just like life, I'll rise. Does my sexiness offend you? Oh, does it come as a surprise that I dance as if I have diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? Out of the huts of history's shame I rise. Up from a past rooted in pain I rise. A black ocean leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak miraculously clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the hope and the dream of the slave. And so, naturally, there I go rising.
All right. If you weren't able to hear that, I encourage you to go back in and watch this on your own. But I love the way that she delivers that poem. I think it's very, very powerful. Based on what you listened to and what we just went over and you know about Maya Angelou, what do you think her poem is saying? Consider that for a moment. She is showing strength and grace. She's about being yourself no matter what other people say. She has determination and perseverance. All right. Now you're going to read the poem to yourself one time. And I want you to consider and write down which parts of the poem stick out to you. All right, pause the video here and then come back after you've jotted some things down. All right, I hope that you enjoyed that. I hope that you, that reading it made it personal. Now, what we're going to do is, in the next section, is we're going to look at each of the stanzas. We're going to see what is it saying, and then we're going to put down the point of view or the figurative language. What elements does she use to create that powerful message? Okay, here's the first part. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust I rise. It's written in the second person. See that? You might write me down in history. And then the language and word choice that you use, bitter, twisted, trod me in the dirt. It's very, she uses words with a negative connotation. She also uses imagery. Remember that imagery is anything you can see or taste or feel or hear or smell, anything that has to do with your senses. You can see and really, you know, sometimes smell dust, but watch it rise off of a dirty, dusty road. It makes it very, very real and tangible. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? Because I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room? What is she saying here? even if my personality or attitude make you feel some type of way, I'm going to keep doing me. I'm going to keep being true to myself. Look at the language that she uses. Again, it's the second person. Uses informal. She uses cause instead of because. She also uses that simile. I act in a way that's like I've got oil wells. Acts like she's wealthy. And she also asks rhetorical questions, those first two lines. Rhetorical questions are questions that aren't meant to be answered, but to make a point. Right, the last part. Just like moons and suns with the certainty of tides, just like hopes springing high, still I'll rise. The moon and the sun, they come up and go down every day. The tides are on a schedule that we can predict and know exactly when high tide and low tide will be. They're regular. They're expected. And she says, no matter what else is going on, she will rise. You can count on it. She uses an extended metaphor and a simile. She says, just like moons and suns with the certainty of tides, still I rise, just like hopes springing high. She repeats herself again. Still I'll rise. See that? She says, I'll rise in the first stanza and then again in the third. All right. Some of the sections that we're going to look at are going to be blank. We want you to fill them in. You could pause the video, or if you're going through this on your own, you can be in the presentation. You're going to fill in the blanks for yourself. Try it here with these next three stanzas. Pause the video and then come back when you're done. All right, and you saw the answers. They were in the PowerPoint or in the presentation for you, so you could check your answers against what I had. Now we're going to click here on the bottom to go to the next part. We'll complete the SALT poem analysis, and you'll click here to open it. Just a quick review. What is SALT? S is the subject. What's the topic of this poem? A, ask questions. What questions do you have, or what questions do you think others might have? L, what figurative language can you find? And we've already gone over some of that. And then T is for theme. What's the theme? Remember, theme is a lesson, a moral takeaway. Like, what is it trying to teach you? All right, pause the video and complete your SALT analysis and then click submit. All right, you clicked next after you submitted your SALT poem analysis. This is your exit ticket for today. You're going to look at the last few stanzas. This is your quiz. It will be your grade for today. We went over the first 6 stanzas in the PowerPoint, and then I went over the first 3 with you on this video. Now it's up to you to do the last few on your own. Remember that you need to use complete thoughts, complete sentences, but it needs to be coherent. You need to make sure you're capitalizing your I's. You need to use end punctuation. You need to use the best grammar that you can. All right, you'll see that the first 3 questions here are multiple choice, and then what are the last 3 stanzas saying? Once you're done, you're going to click submit on your quiz, and I have to go in and manually grade question number 4. All right, after you've clicked submit, then you are done for today. I hope that you got your first 3 right and that you took your time, and I will see you tomorrow. I will see you on Thursday in our next lesson. Bye now.